in 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to the KD Ratio podcast, your place for all things nerd. My name is William. Tonight I am joined by
D to the Y to the L to the A to the N.
Whoa.
And Kyle.
That is the energy that I want to have every episode. Dylan, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
There we go. Kyle, how you doing?
Oh, I'm not as good as Dylan.
Not many people are doing that well.
That took like way too long. Once I got to the A, I was like,
You were like,
I need it to end.
You do your full name.
Yeah.
D
Middle
to the Y
name.
to the L to the A to the N to the R, and you just keep going.
My middle name too. C to the A.
Gentlemen, we have just a packed episode here to get through. I know all three of us are watching the Edgerunners series, the Cyberpunk Edgerunners series on Netflix. Let's start with just a quick and dirty, spoiler-free review, and then we'll jump into our thoughts on the full story and everything. So, Dylan, why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, so I really loved it. I thought the animation was great. Characters were great, even though it's a shorter series. It's only 10 episodes. They're about like 20, 30 minutes each episode. I really grew attached to the characters, which shows just the quality of the writing. And, I just really enjoyed the story. I thought it was very well told and got me hyped for Cyberpunk again. I've been playing it nonstop since I watched it.
You and many other people. Oh, you've been playing it a lot.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
It's past, it surpassed 100,000 concurrent players
I
on
saw like
Steam.
135, yeah.
And it's now has more concurrent players than even Witcher 3 ever had.
I saw
That's
that.
insane.
Yeah.
But that's on the PC platform. I saw on Xbox that it was only like the 32nd most played game right now, which I don't know if this resurgence is maybe.
Well, it's always been more popular on PC because it just runs better on PC.
That's probably true too. Okay.
So, I think that's a factor. I
Yeah.
think it runs fine on consoles. Not last gen. On like new gen, like PS5, Xbox Series X.
Well, let's get into Cyberpunk.
I almost
the
forgot
game.
what the new Xbox was called.
Let's get into Cyberpunk the game after sort of our review of the show.
Yeah, no,
because
of course.
I think there's been some cool updates, and I'd love to see like what you're playing, or if your experience is any different than what it was maybe at launch. So, Kyle, what are your thoughts on the show?
Amazing. Great. Definitely in my top. I don't watch a lot of anime, but it's definitely in my top 10 for sure. And I could probably get it really close in the top 5. Partly because I love that universe, the lore. I love everything about that so much. But then same as Dylan, 10 episodes, but they packed so much like content and character into those episodes, and those characters, while it's I don't want to spoil anything yet, but it's really good. And it's very easy to love, especially already like anime. Then this is gonna, just blow your socks off.
Yeah. So I watched, for my opinion on it, I watched the whole series through in the Japanese dub.
And we watched the English dub,
Yes.
me and Kyle.
You both watched the English dub. So for me, I rewatched the last episode twice. I watched it once, first time in Japanese, and then again in English. And I just thought that the Japanese dub was done a lot better. I felt like the voice actors were, I wouldn't say a lot better. It was just different. I guess I got used to the Japanese dub, like the voice acting, the over-top emotions, like you felt every scene. And then rewatching that, like, the final scenes in English, I just felt like there was something missing. But then I went back and rewatched everybody's like character highlights in English, and I thought that they did a pretty good. It held its own for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of my initial thoughts. I really liked it from a story perspective, but pretty neutral on the whole thing overall. Because I'm not a huge fan of anime in general. My big gripe is like, I don't not like anime. I like Pixar type animation. I like SpongeBob, where it feels like it plays like a game where it's like 60 FPS and it's smooth transitions and fluid, versus this, it feels like very stuttery and active. Like it's paused, the mouth is like open or closed, and just kind of snaps back and forth. It's a different art style, and the reason why I don't really care for it too much is because I struggle like identifying with the characters a lot. I prefer to see that like full range of motion versus like snapping into it. It makes it more real, I guess. I don't know. That's sort of my take. So why don't we jump into basically full spoilers? So spoilers.
Leave now.
Never come back. This podcast is not for you.
Podcast will self-destruct.
You guys ever have that neighborhood car that like would always just go off?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dude, I bet we can all like recreate the full alarm, like
Yeah.
oh god.
And then you got to go out there and turn your alarm off. It's so annoying.
God.
I'm the guy. I'm just kidding.
Dylan, let's get into some spoilers.
Yeah. So, man, depressing ending.
Hashtag depression.
Even in the game, they say there are no happy endings in Night City.
And that they prove it. You know, we see pretty much only 2 people survive out of our whole crew that we get introduced to, and one of them. He didn't even really show up till, I mean, I guess he was there, but we never really learned his name until like the last 2 episodes. Falco, the dude with the mustache, he was just there. But man, it was depressing seeing Rebecca die and David, but seeing Adam Smasher in his full glory.
I was all for it, man.
But I think we both can appreciate like the way that they killed off Rebecca, right?
Oh yeah, just in the moment.
Yeah.
Instantly.
They
You don't have
didn't
time
draw-
to
They didn't
mourn.
draw it out.
You don't have time to realize. I mean, you know she's dead.
Yeah, they show the picture
But
of her body like
it's very
torn apart.
realistic. In real life, when that happens, you're not gonna run over there and spend 20 minutes. Be like, no.
And it's also
Yeah.
like a double like fuck you to the character because it's right when Lucy comes back, you know? And she's like, well, David will be happy. She like didn't win the battle over David.
But she shows that she still cares for Lucy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
like welcome back kind
excuse
of
me,
thing.
we're having a moment here. Fuck yeah. they replay it
3
too
times or something. Yeah.
from different angles.
Dude, it was an intense like final battle, like where he's really fighting the cyber psychosis and kind of going in and out, and Rebecca keeps injecting him, even though he's like, "Hey, mom."
Yeah.
It's like, what? Here you go, you crazy mech head.
I love a good depressing anime. There's just something special about
sucker
them.
for it.
And it's just, I liked how we saw kind of David going this way, and it's just like you couldn't do anything. You're like,
Yeah.
David, stop, don't.
The whole
Like-
final fight was kind of sad.
Yeah,
You know, like it was awesome. It was epic, especially Adam Smasher, but it was definitely like, man, you know?
yeah.
And, you know, I would love to see, I don't want to venture too far away from the anime, but Regina Jones in the game is talking about trying to find a cure for cyberpsychosis. I would love to see them venture into that a little bit more too.
Oh God, what would that look like? Then everyone would just be a robot. If that could be cured, then everybody would just be.
There's a whole
just
mission where you're
stacked out of
rounding
their
up
minds.
SV,
Yeah.
you're rounding up cyberpsychos,
Yeah.
and you can either kill them or you can like knock them out. And
But you can knock them out like after you shoot them 20 times, then you just make sure you punch them once and they're fine.
you can
So
just put on the threat analysis,
Yeah.
or the
Your
the
bullets
target
are
analysis, or whatever. So
non-lethal.
every weapon you don't kill with. But yeah, anyways, back to the anime. Dude, I know that it's gonna end like that, but I just it still was depressing. But it didn't make me. In fact, I think I might have elevated it because I'm okay with their story ending right then and there. You know, I appreciate that the arc is wrapped up and David's whole thing is wrapped up. And he's memorialized. He's got a drink named after him.
Well,
and
I feel like for like a depressing ending, you have to make it justified. You have to make it make sense because I've seen some where it's just like that sucked, but this was good all the character motivations worked. Right, David, he was the one we got to know the most, and his mission was to help Lucy, and that's why he did what he did. And so it makes sense when he's like, fully borged out, like going cyber psycho. It's just because he was trying to get her to the moon.
no,
He didn't care about his own life. He just cared about hers. And so it works because you understand why it's depressing versus, somewhere they just like kill off everyone. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like with David, that cyber psychosis was like very real, and one of the things I struggled to understand was why Adam Smasher could handle it, because he was like bored out of his mind too, and so it's like the idea that he just had like a fat supply of immunosuppressors from Arasaka Corporation.
Yeah, I mean, well, they don't actually even address that, but the predominant theory online right now is that his ties to Arasaka, they have technology that the U.S. government just
That
doesn't
makes
really
sense.
understand yet, and evidently, I guess they're doing something that keeps him there. The other theory is he's already mentally unstable, and cyberpsychosis affects you differently if your mind is already not, warped.
Good to begin with. Yeah.
Good to begin with, and so that's another theory is if you're already insane, if you will, and he's not necessarily insane, but he's definitely like a sociopath. It affects you differently.
So his cyber psychoness didn't do anything because he was already there.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Maine.
Oh,
How great of a character was Maine?
he was great. I
Absolutely.
Kind of fall in love with him immediately.
Yeah, and then you watch him punch Kiwi, and I'm like, you idiot. And it's the same thing with David. It's like, God, you listen to the people who are telling you need to chill with your Chrome, especially when it starts shaking.
Yeah, you're like, really hit. I'll be fine. I'm tough enough. And then, yeah, David just goes off the rails at like
he learned the wrong
fast
lesson.
forwards. Yeah,
From Maine. He learned the wrong.
he's like, I look up to you, bro. I'm gonna come exactly. I watched you die from doing this. I'm gonna do exactly that. And he just like, what does he do? Just work out really hard, or does he just upgrade his entire?
No,
body?
he just upgraded. Like he's pretty much all metal. I'm sure.
That's insane. Well, how about the one guy that they killed that was like totally cyber psychoed out of his mind that had like a cyber dick?
Oh, when they killed the brother
Yeah.
of Rebecca. That I was surprised by that. I did not expect him to just full on blow his head off. I thought maybe he was gonna get shot or like hurt, but they just straight up.
They didn't hold
killed
back
him.
in this.
No, absolutely not.
They literally like he's like, whoa, bro, that's just I must have hurt or something.
Yeah.
Like that's like holy shit. This guy's upgrading everything, and I guess that's a real thing. And then it's like so fucked up in the world because Maine's like, I'll stay behind. The cops will know exactly what happened here. It's not a big deal. I'm like, wow. They see the kind of chrome that guy had on him, and it's like, nah, it's all good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wild. I love this setting.
And I really liked how they portrayed cyberpsychosis in the anime. In the game, it's always just like you see this enemy that's kind of crazy, and so you don't fully understand it. And V never experiences it, unless I guess you could say Johnny is
His cyberpsychosis.
his cyberpsychosis. But I really like being able to see like how they visualized it, right? With the eyes get glitchy, so that's the visual, and then you see that in their mind they're like different places, they see crazy stuff.
Yeah. It makes sense. In the game, you're looking at it from an outsider. You're V and you're trying to contain these cyber psychos, and to you, they're just nuts. You're like, what the hell? They're just going off killing people. And the only time it ever makes sense is every time you fight a cyber psycho, there's like a backstory. You can figure out what got them to that point. Like, oh, this person was experimented on by Maelstrom. They just loaded him full of tech until he couldn't take it anymore. Or, oh, this was someone that used to work for the police force and they're experimenting on a new like max tech thing, but like the anime does a really good job from the cyber psycho's perspective on like what actually they're feeling. From the outside, they're just nuts and you're putting them down. From their perspective, it makes it all more powerful knowing exactly what they're experiencing and feeling as those cyber psychos.
Season 2, would you guys want to see one or no?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it'd have
I'd
to have
be
like
down,
a new cast,
but it'd be
of
a whole
characters.
different story.
Yeah,
It would be a totally different story.
unless it was Lucy. I guess.
guess. I don't know if I'd like to see a
I wouldn't
season
want to
2.
follow Lucy.
I don't know if I would like that.
What's she doing? Skipping around on the moon? And then what?
Well, she could come back, maybe
Arasaka
tries
tries to
take revenge on Arasaka. Or,
I'd like to see if they did a season 2, a completely new cast of characters.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think so.
I think this just screams that like we need more content around. Like, look at Altered Carbon season 1, like season 1, season 2. I'm one of the few that still enjoyed it, but you know, I just love that world, that setting, that
Blade
genre,
Runner,
Blade Runner.
Cyberpunk.
All of these are hits.
Yeah.
And now I know you can't really just like grab a camera and start filming, so like the production is expensive. But what fucking isn't expensive? We talked about it like a few months ago. Kong versus Godzilla was like a $350 million movie. You can create a movie like this or a series like this like for easily in that budget.
Historically, these like cyberpunk films don't really do that well.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
Blade Runner 2049 flopped really hard. They lost so much money on that project.
Whoa.
Same with the original, right?
The original was like a cult hit as
Cult
well.
classic, yeah.
And then
Really? So maybe it is like a fringe thing that.
I think it's still fringe.
Wow.
Look at what was the box office
259.3 million.
against what budget?
Yeah. Is that on IMDb?
It's probably on their Wikipedia page. I
I
don't think the Wikipedia page probably have more.
Yeah. What else? Is there other stuff that flopped?
Yeah, so Dread. That's a really good cyberpunk
And they've
film.
done multiple ones of Dread.
The Sylvester Stallone one was not great, but the Carl Urban one, really good. That flopped. That's cyberpunk genre. Alita Battle Angel, that flopped. Cyberpunk genre. I think it's still niche. Okay, so I mean, Blade Runner. They said that was a flop though. So I think there's more.
They're
than,
probably looking for like 4x their.
There's
investment,
more than
right?
just the. Did you surpass your budget for them to consider a success? I guess because what is that? You know,
It costs 150
70 million,
roughly.
70
yeah.
million around
Yeah.
profit.
150 to 185 million estimated to cost, and it brought in box office, which that's not the whole picture, right? Because there's still sales afterwards, right?
Yeah, that's just movie theaters.
So that's 260 million. So it didn't go negative.
They probably broke even after all was said and done. But
You
yeah,
think so?
yeah, I think so. Because I think movies have to make nowadays. I think I was reading that they have to make like pretty good amount over their budget for them to actually make money on it now.
Wait, go up. A sequel series. Okay, hold on. Slow down there. Sequel series Blade Runner 2099 is development at Amazon Studios with Scott set to return as a... Huh.
So it got picked up for a TV series?
I guess it did.
This is we're reading this to a podcast, so
Yeah.
be sure to read that instead of a sequel series. Blade Runner 2099 is in development at Amazon Studios, and it's going to have Scott set to return as the executive producer. So
Interesting.
it seems like it's going to be brought back alive. This particular implementation of
Which
it,
Blade Runner, I love. Their universe is great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very similar.
It's
Very
similar?
similar.
You feel like it's similar?
To Cyberpunk?
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot more desolate than
Cyberpunk's
Cyberpunk.
pretty desolate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty,
it still seems like there's like a thriving community though, like that. Like there's people.
I get that Cyberpunk is more, I don't know if desolate's the right word. It's more
silly.
well, I don't know silly either. It is silly, but I think it's more like
alive.
crime ridden,
Yeah.
but it's definitely alive versus Blade Runner. I mean, it's got its whole areas, that are very desolate.
It's
and
always
very-
raining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The most desolate Cyberpunk universe is definitely from Dread. Like the whole United States is scorched earth except for Mega City 1, and they have everyone living behind these walls, just billions of people in a very tight, compact area. But I think maybe that goes along with Cyberpunk genres. There's always some kind of desolation in between the big cities.
Yeah, it is strange. Like I really like Night City. Okay, so let's jump so are we done with Edgerunners? Do we want to jump into more of like the game?
Well, what else do we need to talk about in Edgerunners? The fact that everything that we talk about would lead into the game.
Yeah.
now, I think.
Like there's tons of references to the game. There's characters.
I
that
love
show up.
how interwoven the show is with
Rogue.
the game.
shows up.
Yeah, Rogue is there, and like
Wakako.
months ago. This is so they obviously they knew they were doing this, but you're talking to a bartender at the Afterlife, and they're like, "Oh, all these drinks are named after all these Night City legends. What do I have to do to get a name on a drink?" And she's like, "You got to snuff it. Like you go out in a blaze of glory." And then one of the drinks at Night Afterlife is called David Martinez.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And they've had that in the game since launch, but
So you always knew.
you always knew that he was going to die. If you were that into the game that you knew that name from a drink, then you knew he wasn't going to make it. But not a lot of people caught on to that.
That's pretty cool.
I blame their drink system. It's boring to buy a drink at the Afterlife.
Yeah, there's no point to buy a drink. But the benefits aren't even. I mean, half the time they hinder you, don't they?
Yeah.
Like
+3 charisma.
but like lowered stamina,
Yeah.
like lowered perception, and like it hurts you more than helps, which I guess is realistic with alcohol. You're
That's
not gonna-
funny.
Well, even then, I would have enjoyed maybe if you could actually sit down, and you know how in the multiple cutscenes you can like actually drink it.
I love when you can drink in the cutscenes. Something
Right?
about that is like ASMR to me.
Right?
You can like hear the clinking, and he's like gulping, and like the metal hitting the table. It's weird, but the sound quality is so good when they do that. in
And
the
I
game.
would have loved if they had that just every time.
like you could actually sit and do that
Yeah.
rather than not just a cutscene.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
So, what's new in the game now that so obviously there's been this resurgence. We've had a few patches. What are you finding yourself doing? Just playing through the main campaign, or doing maybe additional content?
I never 100%ed it. I'm trying my darndest 100% it this time. And so I'm going through doing all the side missions, all that stuff, the gigs, the trying to collect the tarot cards. But as far as changes of the game, there was a huge update released right when Edgerunners came out, and it had the ability to have a wardrobe, so transmog system, which is amazing now.
Every
because-
game should have that.
Yeah, every game. The style in Night City, especially, is so cool. And you were forced to wear this like weird looking stuff that had better armor than like a bulletproof vest. So now you can actually dress how you want, which is awesome.
If you max out your crafting, you can make anything top tier.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
no, I get you for
Now
sure.
you can just do whatever. And then they added a whole quest line, very little for Edgerunners, where you get David's jacket, which
but
is
they
pretty
don't
cool.
spoil anything in that
No.
quest line. Like you could play that quest line, you have no idea what happens. They like allude to you know, some stuff, but like you could play through that and not really know what happened to David.
Yeah.
Like-
And like you're talking to Falco.
Yeah.
He's the one texting you, and he's like, I got a present for you. Just make sure, or in hopes that you don't end up like him or something like that.
So I guess in hindsight, it's obvious.
Yeah.
but like they don't really make it that clear. It's kind of hard to explain unless you.
Yeah, no, that
Yeah.
makes total sense. Yeah,
One
without
of
that context, then it's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
my favorite things though in this new update, in regards to Edgerunners, is they added Rebecca's shotgun.
And it wrecks.
You go to Arasaka Plaza where she died. It's right there. You pick it up. It is a beast.
can you use it for the main campaign?
Yeah.
A lot of people use it
To kill Adam
spoiler
Smasher.
alert, because you kill Adam Smasher in the game. A lot of people now use that shotgun to kill him as like revenge. Like Rebecca sends her regards, even though you never met her.
Yeah.
MP, but
But when you shoot it, your whole screen like goes up. Like it has huge kickback.
Wow, that's pretty insane. Now, how does the game's like overall polish and feel?
Very much
Compared
more
to
polished
launch.
because I stopped playing it for a while. I know Kyle's been nonstop.
yeah,
But it's still in some areas it's not optimized, but it is. If they would have released it as it is now, there wouldn't have been any issue.
there'd
I
be
don't
not a
think.
single article on it.
No. There's still some stuff that like I know it bugs me, so I know it probably bugs them. The developers like pop in, and there's still some like graphical errors sometimes as far as like lighting details. But
There's only one thing that bugs me, and everything else I actually don't even really notice anymore. There's only one thing that bugs me, and it's when you get an elevator. Sometimes there's like door glitches, And I don't know why, of all things, that's what bugs me. But I don't like when like the door will open and there'll be another door, and then you like walk through the door, and it doesn't happen all the time, but I notice it every time it happens. And so that's really the only one that I've ever been like, what the fuck? Like at least since launch.
Yeah, none of
Yeah.
the stuff I mentioned is like stops me and like makes me go, oh, I can't. It's just stuff like when you're driving, you'll see cars in the distance that are constantly disappearing
Yeah.
because pop in and draw distance, and then
Like really far off.
Yeah.
It's not anything that's like right in
You
front
think
of
that
you.
has to do with like just your settings?
I know that a lot of the problems on console aren't present on PC. And I think it was they just were in over their head on what they thought they could get away with on a console.
Because like pop-in's a very common thing, like especially on PC that you can tune, because it just makes it run better. So you can turn that down, and then it has to render less images, and then
I will say that right now at this point it is being nitpicky, which is justified based on the history of the game itself. But it is being nitpicky, and like Dylan said, if they release the game at the state it's at now,
and then
there
polish
might be
that,
there might be a few little mentions here and there, but they probably wouldn't even notice because it's less buggy now than Witcher 3 was at launch, and Witcher 3 was praised beyond belief when it came out, rightfully so. So yeah, it just they should have released it later. That's all there is to it. And
Well, what are we 2 years from?
2 years from launch, and
2
they,
years
they
from launch,
probably
and now
should
it's in
have
a good
released
state.
it. Honestly, they probably should have released it this holiday season.
yeah. Well, and
Wow.
they should have. I think the biggest thing is they should have just not
They shouldn't have given themselves a time frame.
time frame or also hyped it up. They were totally guilty of saying all this stuff that was going to be in it that isn't.
I want to say
Still
that they
isn't.
shouldn't have done
Subway
that.
system still not in it.
Police chases. They said they're going to add it, but not in it.
Yeah.
And is the police stations are still like really bad, right? They made small tweaks to like updating
The
it.
police system?
Yeah, where like at launch, literally they would spawn behind you on like the top of a skyscraper. Or have they updated that, or is it still in a pretty bad state?
No, it's fine.
I think they updated it.
I don't notice.
Oh, okay.
They patched the police thing really early on because that, other than the fact that they were never a threat, it's really easy to escape them. So
So that was my next. So that's still
Yeah.
present because like
Yeah.
I remember that was like the joke. Like you literally go like one block over and they're gone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now they do follow a little bit more.
But
like
it's not on the order of GTA.
no, there's no star system. There's
Yeah.
no nothing.
There's a
It's-
star system.
I've never noticed that.
There's this. It's 1, 2, 3 star. And there's they
Really?
show up. Yeah,
I've
And
never
they
noticed
flash.
that.
and then they go away once.
Well, so that's
Maybe you're just not a bad boy.
well, that shows you how easy it is to get away with them or get away from them. Then, because I've never even noticed, and I have half 1,000 like 500 hours on the game.
Wow.
So
But they did say that they are working on the police chase
Okay.
system so
they're
that
still working on that. yeah.
police give chase like when you're.
So
I have noticed that when I get caught, if I run into any area where police might be, like it doesn't go away anymore. Like I have to actually get away from them for it to turn off.
The one bug that does bug me and just made me think of it. It's kind of nitpicky, but it's Kyle. Do you have the same issue where sometimes you're just driving and all of a sudden aggro?
Mm-mm.
No, I'll
No.
just be driving down a street and all of a sudden, somebody is all of a sudden in combat with me and trying to kill me, and I'm like, I'm in the road. I'm not. It's not like I ran him over.
Dude, I don't know if I'm just like getting lucky, but like I haven't.
It happens.
I didn't even have that when
a
it
few
was,
times.
maybe you have a bug that doesn't show you like the star rating on the police.
And,
That's why you didn't know.
Never noticed. I've never had anyone aggro on me that I didn't deserve to have aggroed on me. It's usually because I run into them or something.
Well, see, the thing when I'm doing that, I'm going so fast it doesn't matter.
no,
Like I'm, and then it's
Yeah.
like combat for like 3 seconds and then it ends, and I'm like, what the fuck happened?
So where does the game? So first question is, when did they announce Edgerunners? Or
At
like
launch.
when? Oh,
Before-
at launch.
before it even launched, it was one of the
Okay,
Night
so-
City Wires. They've known about this
Yeah.
for a while.
Because it's if they did it after, it would probably be the most brilliant move ever. How to save our game or our name? Because with this resurgence, it's actually pretty. It's tangible. The amount of resurgence into this game. I mean, it's one of the top games in Steam right now.
And they on one of the Night City Wires, they announced the anime. The anime was always going to come out at this time, and they announced it pretty early on. And I think Dylan brought up a good point. They saw the success on what the Witcher series on Netflix brought to The Witcher. So they're like, we're just going to take charge and command of this and do it ourselves.
And it's just kind of wild that the single player game that I know you mentioned it was like a huge update. As someone with an MMO background, like it sounds like they added a quest line. Like it's kind of a joke in terms of like content brought into the game.
I mean, there was more added. Like there's the ability to change your appearance now.
Yeah, but a transmog system, that's just
there's a lot of quality of life updates.
That's
what it was. It wasn't a DLC. It wasn't
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's amazing that they didn't have a DLC or they didn't have an expansion, and they have this type of resurgence into the game just from this series. It's actually really impressive, and I wonder how many we said this a long time ago. If you create this new world, you go through the effort of creating a new world, sell me all the content around it. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this a long time ago, where it's like, give me the TV series, give me a movie. I don't care. Like, make it interesting. Give it its own storyline. If you're going to create, like, Edgerunners is fringe, Night City. It has nothing to do with, like, really the games, so to speak, right? Yeah. It's in the same world. Arasaka, okay, you're still going against
pretty linked into the game, but
it's linked into the world. You're not dealing with like the OG characters.
Yeah, you're
right?
not V. So, it's not Rogue.
Yeah, and so like you're not like as a viewer, you're not like, oh, you better not fucking ruin V for me, Yeah, because you're not doing that. You're just bought into Arasaka's a bad guy. I hate them. Adam Smasher's a piece of shit. I hate him.
That's the whole like RPG thing of it all. Is V is kind of like how you want them to be.
Yeah,
that's an RPG.
Yeah,
and that's what separates it from like just typical action game. V can be a total ass. V can be stupid. V can be. I mean, CD Projekt Red's always been good at their storytelling. That's never faltered. It's their tech that wavered.
So my question to you guys is, where does the game go from here? What is the roadmap for the next 3 years of Cyberpunk?
So they've already announced the DLC.
And that's going to be bringing like some multiplayer elements to it, right?
I hadn't heard that.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think
they abandoned multiplayer.
I don't think they're going multiplayer at all.
I thought they were okay.
I don't think the fan base wants that. To be honest.
Well, they originally had plans for it, but they did. It was really recent. They said that it's off the table now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think anyone's too disappointed with that. So they've already announced that they're doing the DLC. Phantom Liberty. Not too sure what the heck's that about, but V's like...
Phantom Liberty?
Yeah, like V is apparently signs a contract to work for the government.
The new United States of America.
Which is where Night City is. It's part of the NUSA. And so that'll be interesting. I know it takes place before the end of the game because... Johnny's still in your head. So there's that. And then they announced that despite it all, they don't want to abandon Cyberpunk. So whether that means more DLC or sequel, who knows? But they have announced, yes, through everything, we want you guys to know we're not abandoning the IP. So
yes.
I'm happy.
Thank you.
I'm happy. I don't want them to.
Yeah, like you were saying, Billy, I am starved for this genre.
Yeah.
I love this genre so much. Altered Carbon, great. Edgerunner, great. Edgerunner, and then Blade Runner. Blade Runner and Edgerunner.
Runner.
Huh. Interesting.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute. But it's just, we don't get enough content there. And I mean, I guess we were talking, it might be fringe, but I think it's growing a fan base that is getting larger,
especially in the gaming space. Look at Cyberpunk was hyped to an oblivion,
and the direct impact of that. Did you see how many Cyberpunk clones came out? Like right when Cyberpunk came out,
there were so many Cyberpunk. Well, even now, there's still games coming out like Stray. It's about a cat.
Yeah, but it's
Cyberpunk.
I just so wish it could have done so much good for this genre if they did a good job. At
it still is. I think.
Yeah, I think it still can.
It definitely has because of this new series, and it got lucky, and it's because I think everyone had faith long term in CD Projekt Red, but I hate that it's finding success again. A part of me hates it because it's like, oh, we could just do that. We could release a bad game and come out with a TV series. The roadmap's there.
I think
Part of me hates
I
that.
can't be mad at them being successful, and I don't think there's any part of me that hates that. I don't like the idea of someone looking at that and saying, "Oh, as long as we make up for it later on, it doesn't really matter how it is at launch." I don't like that idea. I don't think they are.
You don't.
Think about how much of like a PR hit they. Even through all its success, it's impossible to talk about Cyberpunk now without mentioning the launch. And I don't think that a lot of companies are looking at this as a successful way to make a popular game.
Yeah, I don't think it's like this is our way to success, but I think like
If we fuck up, we can recover.
yeah, it's more of that like, well, we don't have to work too hard. We can. Really, I don't know where that blends.
The first
but
game that
it's
really
there.
did that was that put that mindset out there was Anthem never recovered. No Man's Sky.
I was gonna say No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky,
Sean Murray.
terrible launch, and by all accounts, people love it now. And so
That's one of the things that bugs me the most. Okay. I'm going to go off a tangent here. So I was reading through Cyberpunk, subreddit, right? And the people are like talking about, there's a huge resurgence of like new fans, old fans playing it again because of the anime. And then you see comments that are like, yeah, but it's No Man's Sky. And it's like, of course it's not. You know how many years it took No Man's Sky to get to where it is? It took years.
yeah.
Like, of course it's not. They're trying their best. It's like, if you like No Man's Sky, you should give them credit to Cyberpunk. They did No Man's Sky did.
You
So,
really don't like No Man's Sky.
I hate it.
Really?
So let me give you my outside opinion on, as someone who didn't necessarily play the games but has watched. I streamed multiple playthroughs, and now I've watched Edgerunners. Like, I feel like I'm equipped to speak to this. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
The huge asterisk on that. What I would like to see from the Cyberpunk, I guess game
IP.
thank you, is not a Cyberpunk 2 per se, but a whole new game. You come out with DLCs because there's a lot of energy around it. And obviously, there's people who love it, but come out with a whole new game and call it Cyberpunk, and then title it something, and use the same world, make tweaks, make it Cyberpunk 2099 or something like that. Make some tweaks to the world, some changes to the world, and give us the same sort of setting, same rules of the universe, same rules of the city. Maybe different players. Maybe Arasaka's been overthrown by some other corporation or whatever, and inject a whole new storyline into it. And I feel like if you do that, one, you don't have a ton of like, oh, we have to rebuild the whole IP. Because here's the thing. Right now, Cyberpunk is built on, what is their engine called?
Red Engine.
Red Engine. Thank you. They have abandoned that platform.
Yes.
They're moving
And
back
they're
to
moving
Unreal.
to Unreal Engine 5. And so you have to, like, I don't know. My worry is this just going to get left in the dust? Because
already
they're
said
not
they're
going
not.
to. So they're going to continue to iterate on
So whether that means
Red Engine?
Cyberpunk 2, let's just call it that. Whether
Sure.
that means Cyberpunk 2 is going to be on new engine or not, I don't know. But I mean, they've already announced they're not abandoning the IP, and I think what that looks like is they're probably going to release a couple DLC,
Yeah.
and then move on to a new game. New game's going to be the one that has a new engine.
Because I think they said any game they're working on now will be
It's got to be The Witcher.
Unreal
right?
Engine.
Yeah, I mean, well, they've already announced they're doing another Witcher.
Yeah.
But they, you can't make a DLC, obviously. You can't make a DLC in a different engine, so the DLC all has to be...
God, but how great would a Witcher be on Unreal Engine 5?
It's going to be great, yeah, when they get there, for sure. But, I think that's a ways off before we see anything.
Yeah. So
I was afraid for a second you were going to say, I want to see them make a battle royale. I was like, don't say that.
Like an
I was
MMO.
like, don't say that. Don't fucking say that. I was like waiting for it.
No, because then that would literally just be like APB Reloaded. It would be so no, or Saint like a Saint no.
I was getting ready to axe it so hard. Like,
Shut the
no.
fuck up. But think about it, man. No, because that does cause for concern, because when you switch an engine, like you can't just port that over. Like it's everything. Like the whole engine works differently, and so my fear is like they kind of abandon, like, because Night City is incredible. The potential is there, and I feel bad because it's like, what are we gonna get? A couple DLC, like 2-3 hours of content. And then Night City's there forever. I would love to see them take everything they've learned, create Night City and maybe Unreal Engine 5, and then service it for years. Because I
think that's what they're going to do.
I hope that's what I hope.
I think that's what they're going to do.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
I think that I don't want. I would like. I don't know where they go, but I would love more V. I like
really?
V as a character. Yeah. Absolutely.
It'd be hard because all the endings are so
pretty final.
Yeah.
It's just like Edgerunners. It's not really a happy ending.
Yeah.
And he doesn't die, the way David does.
But he doesn't cure himself.
But he doesn't actually find a way to stop him.
But there's so much in there. Like, you don't have to tie yourself to V. Like, there's so
no,
much.
You don't
in
have
that
to, but
universe
you
that
offered
can
an opinion on maybe it shouldn't be, and I kind of hope that it is around V. Again, finding the right ending, finding the right way to keep it going canon-wise would be difficult. So I think maybe your approach is more realistic in that they just have a new character. But as long as it's set, it's built in Unreal Engine and it's set in that universe, Night City, then I'll appreciate it. Because like you, I love Night City as much as I love any of the characters. Night City is a character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's one of the main selling points of that universe.
And I think the gameplay would obviously be different because you're going from engine to engine, but like you could port in a lot of the art assets, and you already have like the artistic style to base everything off of.
And
so it's not like you have 4 years of dev time trying to build the world. You could just copy and paste and then figure out all
it's
the
not like any of the
stuff.
mechanics would be difficult
Crazy.
to pull off in any engine.
And
it's
Good point.
The mechanics itself is first person shooter.
Yeah.
It's not like it's difficult to pull that off in any engine.
And it's already pretty well fleshed out as far as the game. So they have the groundwork, they have the bones. They just need to recreate it in the new engine.
Yeah.
Because I love the gameplay, like the combat, it's fun, the choices, the driving. They fix the driving a lot. It's better.
I still only drive motorcycles.
Yeah, it's easier to weave through traffic.
Yeah, that's the main
With the
thing.
car, you get
It
stuck.
doesn't feel like you're driving on ice anymore.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain unless you actually play it.
It felt so light, right?
It felt like you were
Always
on ice.
sliding.
It felt like you're on ice. It was very hard to control, and it's not that way anymore. I just got so used to the motorcycle that I don't drive anything except that. Every now and then I'll get in his Porsche just for aesthetics.
Johnny's.
Yeah. I would almost love to see them if they are going to step away from V. I'd like to see more about a story that links 2020 to 2077, something in between there.
Oh, a little prequel. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the world. There's so much story to be had from the time Johnny Silverhand dies to V. Like, how many years is that from 2020 to 2077? Like, there's so much that you could do there. And they've already shown that technology has kind of slowed down a bit. There hasn't been a whole lot of progression, unless it's Arasaka. There hasn't been a whole lot of progression. Cyberpunk 2020 looks very similar to Cyberpunk 2077. Mm-hmm. And so you can still have that interesting world, and it could still be like 20 years before 2077 happened. There's a lot of places you can go.
I would just hope with the new game that they learn from their mistakes on this one, if they do make a new game, and then they take their time to fully realize what they originally, imagined the game to be. Because I would want, that's, a pipe dream, but I would love to see them fully, develop the heck out of the game.
Maybe there was pressure from like investors to like get something going to get people hyped and stuff. But their number one problem is, for one, the overhype. They talked about mechanics way too early, so they were talking about things that weren't even in the game because they're
just ideas.
They were ideas. They tried, they didn't work, they scrapped. But that was the problem with being so public with the stuff, because people were like, wait a minute, what the fuck? What happened?
Said there was police chases.
What happened to wall running? What happened to
What happened to the battle royale?
Yeah, what happened to the battle royale? They talked about online. That's another thing, even though that doesn't bother me that they're not going to have it. But that's another thing they talked about that they had to scrap. So they talked too much, for one, and for two, they gave themselves a deadline publicly. If they didn't give themselves a public deadline, and sure, there would have been like, when the fuck is this game coming out? But if it had released this holiday season, we already talked about that, but it would be received 100% better.
They could have sold like 2 more Witcher 3 DLCs to fund, this
or they could
have
have
float it for 2 more years.
They could have released, Edgerunners before the game came out.
Build the hype. Then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna kill
Adam Smasher.
Adam Smasher.
I'm gonna fucking kill him so hard. So I don't know. I'm not. Well, I'm not in any position to run a big company like that, but that's what I think could have solved it.
Yeah, and the thing with the release is they shot themselves in the foot, right? Now all this manpower has been put into fixing the game, when instead it could have been developing those expansions. Originally we were supposed to get 2 expansions. So far we've only heard of 1.
I think they're still going to do 2 before they leave Red Engine.
I hope.
Yeah.
But like they haven't confirmed that second one, and so imagine if this game had come out fully, finished, and they actually had time to not just try to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
They could have,
With all that being said, it might be a tough sell to some people because they were so hurt, and if like they're
really
rightfully so, they're hurt and they're turned off by this. I still want to take this time to emphasize that right now, especially because of how cheap you can get the game, you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't at least try it.
What's the price on Steam?
I don't know. It was on sale last I saw. It was like $15. It might be a little more than that now.
Up the price for Edgerunners.
They might have, with how much they were getting people to play it.
You know what's funny is I just looked up the Wild Hunt DLC for Witcher 3, and to date it's sold over 40 million copies. How much was that DLC? $20? 15?
Not Wild Hunt is the name of the game. That's not DLC.
Oh. I thought that, okay. So this is not, okay. So the total copies were 40 million. What was the name of the DLC?
There was Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine.
Hearts of Stone. Let's see. Hearts of Stone.
Hearts of Stone was their smaller DLC. It was still good, but it wasn't
what was their big, like,
Blood and Wine was their big one.
Let's see.
I was like, what the fuck? I was like, holy shit.
That number blew me away too.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, damn, that's like a whole game.
They make it kind of difficult to find sales numbers for DLCs.
Yeah, especially because it's like it came with the Game of the Year edition.
Oh, it did.
A lot of editions have that.
Yeah, the one I bought included that edition because I bought it way late.
Yeah, to the point where they all had that.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn, I saw that and I was like, oh, I thought Wild Hunt, because I had a poster in my room that was the Wild Hunt, and I was like, oh, I thought that was the base game, but
it is the base game.
It is. I know.
I was so confused for a second. Be like the Wild Hunt DLC. Yeah. I was like, I don't remember that one.
Which one was
that? It took me a second.
Yeah, there's really no numbers on that. But anyway, Cyberpunk on Steam. Let's see the price real quick. Let me just verify my age. I'm 107 years old.
According to this, it's $60.
It's still fat 60. Oof.
I don't think that is
cashing in on the resurgence. They took the sale.
Look, they even
off.
have a picture of Edgerunners
I was gonna say
on
like,
that video.
on the initial
Literally,
clip.
last time I checked, so I misspoke, but last time I checked, it was like on sale and it was only $15. So I think they were like, "Fuck, people are playing.
Yeah,
Let's
dude, they're cashing it in.
get this up there again." I still think the $60 price tag is fair for the game that you're getting. And
Might
if
be the
you're,
first time ever it's fair. 'Cause it's
I think there's a
complete
lot
game.
of games where it's fair.
No, I mean Cyberpunk. It might be the first time it's ever.
Oh, this
Yeah.
game is ever. I said that a long time ago. You know I did,
I know.
but
Right now, there's currently a,
so I still think you should play it if you any amount of like entertainment in this genre. This game's worth it for sure.
I think you should play it, Billy.
I've already watched
Convinced?
Okay.
like literally 2
I
full
watch-
playthroughs.
Okay, but you watched a stream. You didn't play it.
What's the
You'll
difference?
never win me over with the argument of watching a stream is the
Yeah.
same as playing it.
It's not. It's not.
not.
But
You said, "What's the difference?"
Yeah.
I know that was definitely full of shit. I would, I would still consider myself to have like 30 hours in it though. I mean, I literally watched at least 2 full playthroughs, and then I watched some people doing like some creative shit.
Yeah, but you're not role playing in it, right? You're not.
I've never been that kind of person that's like, oh, so immersed.
Getting Billy to buy a $60 game for a game that he is interested in is hard enough. For a game that he is not even sure he'll
I'm
like,
trying
that's
to get
another
you guys
story.
to buy Elden Ring on PC so we can do the mod. Seamless co-op.
I don't think that'll happen.
I
'Cause
appreciate it.
I don't really like Elden Ring.
I'm gonna-
I'm just kidding.
As you can see by our past episodes.
and he also doesn't really like Marvel.
Not a huge fan of Mass Effect either. This is all a front.
It's all up front.
It's all a front for our massive following. We're doing
My
it.
eyes just looked at my brain. If you could tell how much I'm rolling them. But no, I mean, look at this. Like all 24-hour peak, 100,000. I mean, that's
Still
incredible.
rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
I can't believe it peaked over 1 million concurrent players. That's
All-time peak?
Special.
That's how big the hype was at launch.
That is special.
It was
Pretty impressive.
it was insane, but it plummeted really fast though. That was like a week where it was near those levels, and then it went down.
Yeah,
quick.
I mean, most single, like, because people, streamers in particular will stream it for 10
Yeah.
hours, 2 days in a row and beat it and never return to the game. And
Mm-hmm.
well, a lot of people didn't even beat it when it came out. They're like, it's too much. Gonna go back later.
It's too buggy.
too buggy.
Well, I mean,
especially with the original
I-
crashes.
Even me, for as fanboy as I was, I waited probably to really start playing it. I waited till like after Christmas.
I
when
had to
they-
wait for that first update. 'Cause I could not
was,
play it.
I kid you not, it was actually unplayable.
It
at
was.
launch.
It crashed like every
Every single it was
few
like
minutes.
every 10 minutes the game
Yeah.
crashed on me. And I remember being just royally pissed. I was so mad. And then that patch came out, and then I was like, okay, at least it's not crashing. Everything else I can put up with. And I did, and I'm glad I did because it's definitely my top 5 favorite games of all time.
Cyberpunk is in your top 5 games of all time.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. I thought you knew that. I didn't know you would be that shocked at me saying
wow.
that.
I knew you liked it, but that's for you.
In fact, I've beaten that game more than I've beaten Mass Effect because it's not as long as playing through all 3 games.
Well, that makes sense.
No, it's not. It's not past Mass Effect. Mass Effect is still my favorite trilogy, but as a singular game, I would probably
You like it better than any of the Witchers?
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
I think I would put it number 3.
better than Red Dead.
I think I'll put it number 3. Red Dead 2 is probably, and then you ask me a year from now, this might change, but I think Red Dead 2 is probably in my top 5 as well. Red Dead 1 is in my top 10, but it's not my top 5. Knights of the Old Republic,
Of course.
is my favorite singular game.
And that's number 1 and forever will be.
Yeah. Mass Effect trilogy as a whole, I always count as a whole, is probably
Yeah, I
number
agree.
2.
I'll allow it.
Cyberpunk, I'm deciding if I want it 3 or 4.
Wow.
I think Red Dead 2 might be 3, and Cyberpunk is probably 4.
Do you put it that high? top 5.
I know it's not
all-time.
Dill's
That's
top 5, but I
impressive.
know he loves the game.
Yeah, I would say it's close.
Wow.
It's
I would be more
it might
careful.
be 6 or 5. I'd have to sit down and think about the games, but I know it's pretty close. I really enjoy the game. Even, I played through the whole thing when it first came out after that first update, and I did enjoy it. When we talked about it on the podcast, it was good. It had a lot of bugs, and I wanted to let it known, but I still really like the game.
Whenever I talk about it, I try to be as impartial as I possibly can. It always hurts me to point out the flaws that I know are there. But that doesn't change my opinion on how much I love it. But I'd be doing our, listeners a disservice if I just blindly talked about only the good things.
The circle jerk.
If I just blindly talked about how it's one of my favorite games of all
Yeah.
time, I would be doing them a disservice, which is why I always have to be honest and say, yes, these are things that are happening and these are still things that are happening. But it's so easy for me now, me not talking to, a listener, not talking to anybody else. It's so easy for me to be like, but I fucking love it, so I don't care. You know
I
what I
like
mean?
Cyberpunk better than Elden Ring or any of the Souls games.
Elden Ring is probably, it's in my top 10, but it's not my top 5. In fact, all the Souls games are like right in there with my top 10, but they're not my top 5s.
I would have been more careful talking about Cyberpunk if I knew you loved it that much.
Well,
Ready
that's-
to go to war.
Well, that's another. Well, we have gotten into some heated debates, but that I wouldn't want you to feel like you couldn't voice your own opinion either.
No, I haven't
So-
played the game, so you guys
You've
just
only
hate
streamed
me.
it.
Yeah, but
But
that, it would be unfair of me to be like, you're not allowed to talk about the negatives that you see, even though I love it that much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know
I might
I'd
have
blow
to-
your mind that
You
much.
actually blew my mind.
I didn't. I thought that
Yeah.
was common knowledge. Dylan
I would,
knew.
because he how much he says
I could
he
see
loves
top
it.
10, but
yeah.
I did not see top 5.
That game, sometimes I play it when I'm like feeling sad. It makes me happy to play it.
Wow. Do you find yourself like starting a new character or like just
I've
exploring the
I've
world?
beaten it. I have one character that I've put a lot of time into, and they're like my main character. But I've also gone through the story with male V and female V.
Then you did
Corpo, Street Kid, Nomad, and
You like Nomad the best, right?
I actually like Corpo the best. Yeah, which I didn't think I would.
I was gonna say that wasn't your first.
Yeah,
You
but
chose Nomad first, right?
But I must have beat it somewhere in the ballpark of close to 10 times. The main campaign itself is not that long. It's
you can speed through it.
you could speed through it, and like even for a well-rounded ending, you could probably beat the whole thing in like 20 hours, which is not that long for an RPG. Like I said, I have somewhere around 500 hours in total in the game.
And I think,
Impressive.
as we talk about it, the thing that saves Cyberpunk for a lot of people, Kyle especially, me included, is the writing is just so good.
Mm-hmm.
The characters, so good. Like, I go through and, you play with Johnny. Some people I don't understand who hate him, but it's like he grows on you.
Yeah.
And it's like you actually come to enjoy this person that's in your head. When you start the game, like if you're in V's shoes, you should hate this guy, right? He's killing you. But then it's like, oh, he's not meaning to, and he's actually a pretty nice guy. And
then you're like, wait a minute, he's a terrorist.
Yeah.
That blew up.
he used a nuke at the top of a building. Okay. But
He's a nice guy.
yeah. But then you have to, and it's just, the writing is perfect because then you also wonder, it's like, how much of you, V, is going into Johnny? And that, like, are you actually seeing Johnny, or is this V's Johnny?
So I know we've talked about like what our favorite games are of all time. And I think I get your point too, because I came up with that list on the fly. And if I really sat down and I really was like, let me take some time on this. Let me think about everything I've ever played since I was 5 years old.
Because you have a lot of beloved games.
I have a lot of beloved games, but I think it would still be close to the top, even if I did that and I took the
you
time.
put it at 3. You thought it at 3.
Yeah, and there's recency bias because
Absolutely,
it's fairly new.
yeah.
If I come back to this in 10 years, I might have a different opinion.
Yeah.
Then it'll be Cyberpunk 2. No,
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's definitely up there, top 5 for sure. And I think I would. I feel pretty comfortable right now keeping it there. And that's not just me talking out of my ass. You know, it didn't start that way, but like it's one of those things that like the more I played it, the more I grew in me. I loved it over and over and over again. And now I played it through so many times. And, KOTOR would always be number 1 for me though. And that is the only thing I know will never change.
Wow.
KOTOR.
For those that don't know, it's Knights of the fucking Republic.
Knights of the fucking Republic.
The remake.
They didn't.
I thought they did.
Now it's not going to be good, whatever happens to it, because now it's like in limbo. It got picked up by another developer.
It's in shambles.
So even though it's not officially canceled, it's not something I'm looking forward to until yeah.
Wow. Well, gentlemen, that crosses us over the hour mark.
I got really passionate there at the end.
I'm in like a little bit of a shock right now, but you know, I think you putting in your top 5 might make the case for me downloading it.
Yeah,
if you are that behind it,
it's a good game, Billy.
I know it's a good game, but for him to like it top fucking 3 blows my mind.
You know how
got some beloved titles up there.
Well, also the difference between a game that's 9th place, for me, the difference between a game that's in 9th place and a game that's in 2nd place is so minimal. Like it's like they are all right there, which is why I could see them shuffling around a lot. In fact, I'd almost make a case for me to really talk about the things I love. I might need a top 20. To be honest, I really do think that I might need
break it down by genre.
I might need a top 20. I might need a genre.
Yeah, especially like that's greatest game of all time, right? Like Breath of the Wild.
I just got an idea for a tier list.
Oh, what?
We choose like top 10, each of our top 10 games, put them all together, and then we, as a group, rate them in a tier list.
My top 2, you guys would have never played, basically.
I played Guild Wars.
Yeah.
I played both of them.
You played one? I guess you did create a character.
I only played about 5 hours on Guild Wars 1. Guild Wars 2, I put in about 15.
Yeah.
So not enough to have a real opinion on it, but I have played them.
It'd be interesting to do a tier list.
Yeah, I would want to make it large. You know, like top 15 games for each of us, or maybe
get ready for some passionate talks. If we're talking about properties that matter to us, you know.
Oof. How would we rate that? So like Guild Wars 1, a title that
F. I'm just kidding.
I know, right? Like, do I just override both of you?
It's a D.
You don't get a vote.
Well, I think we do like the Elden Ring and average out. We didn't have to do a lot of averaging here.
So you just
we'd have to
remove your
we'd have
voting
to
rights.
tweak the system because we'd have to find a way to make it fair. Like, how is Dylan going to vote on a game he's never played? You know what I mean? So there'd have to be
what do they call
something,
it? Like,
some
recuse
approach.
Your right to vote or whatever. Yeah.
He'd have to maybe he could watch some streams,
Omish.
and that's the equivalent of playing the game. Just kidding.
Oh, fuck. If you watch OG Guild Wars streams right now, which they still are there, you're going to be like, this game looks and feels old. You know what I'm playing the most right now? Guild Wars 1.
Jesus.
There's
You're still trying to get that.
I'm still trying to get the God Walking Amongst Mere Mortals, the Guam title. I will achieve my childhood dream. I can't wait.
You can do it, Billy.
I will.
We believe in you.
It is a process, but yeah, I'm gonna do it. And I'm actually having fun playing it. Like, it's one of those that like runs so efficiently on my computer that I can have like so many things up, and I can like almost AFK it, like kind of just mindless watch a movie or something. So
you know
what I just thought about? Cyberpunk is 2 years old.
Yes.
That is insane, because when we first started this podcast, it was like a Cyberpunk Hype Train podcast. That hadn't even come out yet.
That is wild.
We've been doing this for a while now.
Did we hit our 2-year mark? Are we on season 4?
Are we at our 2-year mark? Was September the 2-year mark?
I think it might have been.
Dude, we have to celebrate. Okay, next
don't
episode we're
celebrate
doing an anniversary.
Any milestones. We're just
We're doing an anniversary stream next episode, and maybe we do a tier list. That's like kind of perfect. Maybe it's like a 2-hour episode or something, or maybe it's a 2-hour stream, and then we do a regular pod. I don't know.
We've come a long way from how we used to record.
Yeah,
We got quite a setup.
we do. We have a decked out, dedicated podcast room. We have a top of the line Goodwill table. All right, and it's not just good because I'm here.
We had a top of the line Goodwill chair.
Yes, but
It snapped.
It's now in the bottom of the line of the garbage pile because it broke in half.
It's in a landfill somewhere.
I think it was mainly intentional because we wanted to see.
We were pushing the limit.
But we have a top tier studio. I'm going to call it a studio because that's what it is. We have these incredible. If you haven't checked out our streams, we've got like an incredible backdrop of all the things that we've collected. We still have yet to really talk about that on stream, I guess.
Yeah.
Talked about it a little bit.
We just ripped
introduced
through
each
it,
one.
but all the different things we've been passionate over the years and bought collector's editions for, it actually filled out pretty nice.
Yeah.
We've got a pretty awesome setup here, and I think it's getting out there. Like we're seeing followers come in, and like we have good subscriptions on a lot of podcast sites.
Especially YouTube.
Yeah, especially YouTube. I really like what's going on with the streams. Seems like people are enjoying that content. So
Yeah, and they watch it.
yeah, and yeah, you're right. Like the time viewed is actually like the averages are really really good. So it's moving to somewhere good, I think. So
It's
I've already put in my 2 weeks.
oh,
We're doing the
I
podcast
thought we were all
full time.
unemployed.
Right?
Yeah,
I quit a long time ago.
yeah I didn't know about
Actually,
you.
every
Oh.
night when it ends, you don't know this, but there's a box out there in your backyard. And,
just sleep in the
that's where I'm
podcast
going.
studio.
yep.
Dylan, where can people find us?
They can find us on Instagram and Twitter and all your podcast listening platforms as well as YouTube under KD Ratio Podcast.
There we go, guys. It's all on the up and up now. It's just going up and up and up. So,
Up and up and up and up and up.
Kyle,
Yeah.
any closing thoughts?
Check out our streams.
Yeah,
Leave a review
I'm enjoying that.
and tell your friends. If you tell your friends, if you like this in any fashion, spread the word because we appreciate it. Right now, it's a passion project and it has been for the last 2 years because we just like the excuse to hang out. But
Basically,
it's always fun to see traction of any kind.
Yeah.
We're doing this for fun and we want to keep it that way. But it's always fun to see people enjoy it as well.
All right, guys, be a friend, tell a friend. And remember, with a good KD, you get the dub.
Bye, guys.